If you want to find out why the Timurids are such a good choice for a world conquest, and how you can get such a big mughals, 2,000 ducats, a full-on manpower, well then watch this video until the end, and don't forget to leave the notifications on for the channel so you get notified whenever I release new videos such as this. In this video, we're going to be going through the initial diplomatic situation, how to manage your vassals, when Shah died in the first year of the game, forming mughals, and later expansion. We're going to go ahead and go for the lenient taxation, which offers -15% liberty, desire, and subject, together with the strong duchies that offers another -10% liberty, desire, and subjects. That basically makes all of our vassals loyal. Now, one more thing we're going to do is we're going to get a royal marriages with every single one of our vassals. This is going to give us a -5% liberty, desire. Again, take note, for Transoxiana, you have to wait until December before you can get the royal marriage, but you can get the royal marriage with all the other vassals in the meanwhile. Whilst you're doing this, we're going to start moving our troops to the border with Ajam, for no other reason than because we're going to absolutely destroy them. We're also going to adopt the title of Mia Khalifa and enforce religious unity, denounce these sect practices, and when it comes to our estate, we're going to have a bit of a tough time here, but we're going to give out monthly admin power +1, oversight by the ulama, exclusive trade rights, as I said, strong duchies and supremacy over the crown, as well as guarantee religious minority rights, promote the Demi nobles, and we will be giving the +1 military and +1 diplo power, but we're going to do it after next month has passed, since we want to do it after we've gotten the royal marriage with Transoxiana. Having lowered crownlands means that we're going to get liberty, desire from subjects development increased, so before we get that, we need to make sure we got the -5 reduction from getting the royal marriage. Alliance wise, you're going to ally Chagatai together with Akoyunlu and with the nation of the Great Horde. The reason for this is because Akoyunlu is going to be more inclined to staying our ally if we ally them now, otherwise they might ally the Ottomans, and we need this as a buffer state for the time being between us and the Ottomans. Great Horde is going to help us in the northern areas and even against the Ottomans, and Chagatai will help us in our future war against Uzbek. We will have to deal with Nogai ourselves. Our main expansion path, however, is going to be into North India for the time being, Ajam on the 11th of December, and of course going into the Arabian Peninsula as well. Also take note that you have cores on all of your vassals except for Sistan, and some of your vassals even have extra cores. If you click on Transoxiana, they have cores on Uzbek, as well as you have cores on the entirety of Ajam, which is what we're going to go for, namely the Reconquest CB. To help out with that, we're also going to be hiring the Free Company, of course, and we need a little bit more cash, so what we can do is sell titles, but remember, we're going to do this in December. So if you want to get some quick cash in the meanwhile, you can give out the monopoly on paper and use the newly added cash to hire the Free Company in Raf's Majandaland. You also start with Shah as a general, and he's a beast, but he's also 67 years old, so he's going to die very fast. Most likely, it's going to happen within the first 2 years, or even in the first month if you're unlucky. So then you're going to have to struggle with keeping your vassals in check, but we'll show you exactly how to keep them in check if that happens. The 1st of December has arrived, and we're going to royal marry Transoxiana, which means that we can now give the +1 military power and the +1 diplo power points, as well as dev up our province here once. Encourage development beforehand, remember that, of course. I also recommend developing your military points since you're going to get some extra points from your first mission, and then you can sell titles, 436 ducats for almost nothing, crownlands wise sold. Afterwards, you can take some crownlands for yourself. Now we have 5% close to anyway. What we're going to do is we're going to placate local rulers once, go and give out the patronage of the arts, which gives us some more prestige again. It should be enough. As long as you have extra prestige, that means on the plus, and you've placated them, you should have a loyal Transoxiana. Don't forget to also get a general and put him in charge if he has a siege pip, and mine does, of the mercenary army, since we're going to be attacking with the mercs. Let the mercenary manpower pool die whilst sieging down forts rather than our main manpower pool. 11th of December, and we're going to be attacking Ajam. Make one of the border provinces as your main war target so you can get it quickly and get the ticking war score, and your vassals are going to do all of the work as long as you set them to siege, which is going to tell your vassals to siege down the enemy provinces. Keep your armies close to each other. Whilst you're doing this, remember to get a spy network in Ajam, as well as a spy spy network into Hormuz, since we will be attacking on a secondary front after this war is finished. One more thing I forgot to mention is that you should always set your rivals as Delhi, Ottomans, and Uzbeks. The reason for this is because Delhi always will lose its status because the vassal of Sirhind is going to attack them. So that means you're going to eclipse them, which is basically an easy 10 power projection right there. Also, as you can see, the mercenary company is losing manpower here, whilst our main armies are not losing any manpower because they're not sieging down forts, are they? No, they're not. And the siege is finished. We're going to go over and help out in the other province so we speed up this war. Sadly, the great Shah Rukh has died, and because of that, we lost the minus 50% liberty desire that he was giving our vassals, which means that most of these guys are absolutely disloyal. But don't let that scare you. Whilst you're at war, they cannot declare a war of independence. Make sure you boost up your stability. Hopefully you don't get such a horrible heir as I got here. If you do get something like this, obviously disinherit after your war and after you've gotten a little bit more prestige. So what we're going to continue to do is just focus on the war for now. If you want them to be loyal, what you could do, especially with some of the ones that are close to loyalty, is develop their provinces once. So for example, I'm going to develop Khorasan here once, which is going to get them loyal. Same thing for Sistan. Check whichever province is cheaper to develop. Go ahead once, or in this case actually you need to do it twice. One more thing to note is that you need to actually improve relations with all of your vassals after you've gotten your claims and after you've finished the main sieges down in Ajam. It is vital in this war that you fight the battles in the right places. For example, they were sieging down Qom, and then I attacked them whilst they were sieging down Qom, which of course means a stack wipe since this is a dryland fort with no means of return for these armies. So once they lost that, they got wiped out. Continue to improve relations with your vassals. We're not gonna peace out until these bad boys are close to getting loyal. I couldn't wait for any longer. I had to kill the heir. He was just really bad, man. So because of that, I have minus 33 prestige, which is pretty bad. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna recycle the patronage of the arts, which because I have a below 0% prestige, it gives me 25 prestige. So I'm down to minus 8, which is a-okay since I'll get this back from the battles. So we now have the war score to peace him out, but before we do peace him out, what we're gonna do is we're gonna declare war on Hormuz here. Now it doesn't necessarily have to be Hormuz. Hormuz is the easiest because you can just get access through Mushasha as well as access through Hassa, so you can directly get these lands in the war. But you can also attack Baluchistan or a few other nations around. Ladakh is a pretty easy choice also. The idea is that you want to be in a war once you peace out Ajam so that your rebellious vassals do not get anyone supporting their independence. In the peace deal, we're going for this exact border here. The reason for this is because sometimes Karakoyunlu decides to attack Ajam. If that happens, they can only take Ardalan. They will not get access to the other 3 provinces here. And also, take note, these are your cores. So because of that, you've just increased your economy by quite a lot. Make sure to make these full states, of course. And you now can also do the expand Timurid mission that makes it even easier to keep your vassals in check. We're going to get military access and we're going to start our march towards the nation of Hormuz now. And as you can see, almost all of our vassals are royal except for the Transoxanians. This is because we've increased in size by quite a lot. When dealing with Hormuz, we're going to almost fully annex them because we cannot access the capital of Hormuz since it's on an island and we do not have a fleet. We're going to take most of the country minus 1 province, which means we get a coalition of Hormuz itself. But don't let that scare you. Hormuz is not really that dangerous. Once this is over, we can also pick our new rivals, of course, go for Karakoyunlu and Uzbeks if they're not available anymore, or Delhi if Sirhind formed Delhi. Oh, okay, in my case, Jaunpur formed Delhi. Our vassals are also loyal now, but on the limit, so we need to make sure that we have a strong enough army to keep them in check. Concentrate development in the newly conquered provinces and core up everything you have there. This will significantly boost our country's economy, especially since we have a majority after this of the Hormuz trade node, and we can also attack Baluchistan. I've gotten a claim on it in the meanwhile. However, before we attack them, we need to make sure that we position our troops by the border, especially by the border with their allies, namely Dawasir and Mara. If we can co-belligerate and not have any actual issues with too many nations, then we can also attack these co-belligerated nations, which makes it easier for us to take care of everybody in the Hormuz area. So because I'm an aggressive bastard, I actually took over all of the lands in the Arabian part. But you don't need to do that. You can be a chill virgin map gamer. But you can also be a Chad and annex everybody, because coalitions don't really matter when you're playing as the Timurids, at least. Same for Baluchistansky here. I'm gonna annex them. Look at this coalition. But guess what? Everybody here I have a truce with except 3 nations, so I really couldn't give less of a schnitzel about this. Despite the fact that you have cores on 4 of your vassals, Afghanistan has 1 province that you do not have a core on, so because of that, you need to start integrating Afghanistan before the other nations. So that means integrate Afghanistan 1 month before you finish integrating Afghanistan. Start integrating 2 more nations, preferably Transoxiana and Fars, and Khorasan you can do the next month after. If you don't do this, because of the -3 Diplo rep, it's going to be very hard to integrate Afghanistan otherwise. So start with Afghanistan and do exactly what I told you. Do it! And Afghanistan's going to finish integrating in a couple of months, so I'm going to start doing the same with Transoxiana and Fars. Both of these I have full cores on, so it literally only takes 1 month for me to integrate both of these nations. Let's go. Right after this month, we should be a lot bigger than we currently are. There you go. We've now integrated quite a few of our nations here, and as you can see, we've grown in size considerably in a single month. Now, before we can integrate Khorasan, despite having cores on all of it, we need to improve relations because they got -90 from annexed vassals. So it's literally just a case of improving relations with them a little bit more, nothing else. Make sure you core up all of these lands as well. While they are already your full cores, you just have to make them states so you get the full advantage and full benefits from this. One more thing I want to point out, and I know some of you might call me out on this, so to say, is the fact that Transoxiana does have cores on Uzbek, and you might be going, "Oh, Ludi, why didn't you attack Uzbek for the Transoxianian cores?" Well, there's 2 reasons for that. I'm actually planning on attacking Uzbek and releasing the nation of Kazakh, which has cores on all of Uzbek, minus a few provinces in the north. If I was to do the war for Transoxiana and then integrate them, I would have lost these provinces when I would have released the nation of Kazakh anyway, so it makes no sense. We also can do some of our missions now, such as Lower Persia and Indian Raid, which requires that we have 40,000 troops. This is perfect because our next expansion right now is going to be into India, so having these claims is great. We're going to get ready by bringing all of our armies to the border, finishing off rebels and whatever else we might have around this area. And we're also going to be deleting some of the forts, such as the one in Kandahar, which is not really the best fort, nor is the one in Merv, or even the one in Bukhara. We will be keeping the one in Kish since it is a mountain fort and quite a great fort actually, as well as the other forts we have around. Before marching your way into India, I highly recommend, especially if you're a newer player, that you consolidate your holdings, get a strong economy and strong nation, and once you're ready, first off, look at the political landscape of this subcontinent. So what I mean by that is, for example, I need to make a straight line all the way to Delhi in order to form Mughals. So that means I gotta attack Sirhind and Delhi and even Multan. So for example, if I co-belligerate Delhi here, that's gonna bring in Gujarat, Malwa, nations into the south that I would have to deal with, and then even more nations that I have to deal with when attacking Sirhind. There are some bypasses to this. First off, ally whichever nation in India is the odd one out and whichever might help you out in your own wars. So in my case, that would be the nation of Mewar, and I can even vassalize a few nations such as Ladakh and a few others, although it's not really great lands that I can feed them, so I'm probably just gonna eat them up. Before I even attack Multan, I'm planning 2 steps ahead, so I'm not co-belligrating Delhi because I will be attacking after my Multan war Delhi's other vassals in the south at the same time, so I'm gonna start getting my claims there. So I'm basically gonna do a Multan war, Sirhind war, whilst I wait for the truce with Delhi to finish, Sindh and Gujarat war, and then Delhi for the province of Delhi itself. The Delhi war should be fairly easy. Your armies are like 10 times stronger than the Delhi armies. One thing I do want to note is the fact that despite the fact that initially I didn't want to take any lands from Delhi, I've changed my mind and I'm actually going to take Delhi itself from them. Coalition wise, as you can see, is literally just the nations in Saudi Arabia, or better yet Arabia, because there's no Saudis there yet, and just a few other Indian nations as well. We'll take a bit of cash also, and we're going to peace out Delhi So the way that I managed to do this is because I've also vassalized Naga War. Should have probably mentioned that before. And this also means that I only need one more city from Sirhind, either Doaba or Lahore, whichever is fine. I'm gonna bring my troops back to the border since we will be attacking the nation of Sirhind right now after the war with Multan. I've also been getting my spy network in Sirhind for a few months now, and with Multan gonna take just the border provinces here that I'm really interested in, not much else. Also gonna get some cash and whatever else I can get. Even cancel this course so I get a bit of prestige from that. Cancel alliance with Delhi sounds good too, as well as guaranteeing a Ladakh. Now the siege is finished there, which means I can do this, and there you go. Now I'm gonna come with this army in the border with Sindh, since Sindh is allied to Sirhind, and they will likely be a nuisance if I don't have some troops to counteract them. One more thing is the fact that Chagatai is also allied to Sirhind for some reason. They might not join if I wait for a few months, since Chagatai just went to war, so it's really a matter of whether I'm willing to wait or not for a while. You can also concentrate development in Delhi so you make it cheaper to core, and you can do the same thing for Sirhind. I recommend, however, waiting just in case you're going to take more provinces from here. I could wait for a little bit longer, but I'm too bored already, so I'm going to attack Sirhind. I'm going to set Bera as my war goal, and I'm not going to co-belligerate anyone. That being said, I'm obviously going to have to fight my beloved ally Chagatai since I didn't wait, and Sindh, which is really not much of an issue. I've also integrated Khorasan, and I am in the process of integrating Sistan with my surprisingly new ally of Naga War, having the purpose of being a vassal so that I don't lose the strong duchies modifier for the +2 extra diplo relation slots. So guys, in this kind of situation here, you might be going greedy mode and you want to get 100%. Don't do that because you're still at war with Chagatai and Bengal. Make sure you occupy all of Sirhind, which basically means you can piece them out for the provinces that you want. In my case, I'm going for Doaba, Jammu, and Samana, which splits them up in half, making them an easy target for me in the next war. I'm going to get a bit of cash as well. And that's it, because at the end of the day, I can still attack them next time. I just need to get this province here so that I can finally core this up and form the Mughals. And now that this war is finished, we're going to turn our attention to the other side of the empire. We're going to finish off this side, unify it under our banners, whilst we wait for the truce to finish with Multan, Sirhind, Sindh, and so on, and whilst we core up all of these lands. So despite the fact that I've had the provinces needed to form the Mughals for about 6 years now, I have not formed it yet because I need to be at peace in order to enact this decision. And also Delhi needs to be in a state. That's easily doable. There you go. It's now in a state. So yeah, I actually forgot 3 times. Once when I attacked Ajam, second time when I attacked Ardalan to make them my vassals so I can feed them back their cores in the lands of Karakoyunlu, and the third time when I attacked Mazandran. So professional gamer right here, boys, with the memory of a jellyfish. Or was it a goldfish? You should also know that because of how strong you're gonna be, nations are literally gonna want to become your vassal. Look at this. Jharkhand just became my vassal, even though they're on the other side of India. Diplomatically, I just vassalized them. It's not just them. Look at this. All these nations want to become my vassal. And if you're careful enough and you check what cores these nations have, you might be able to feed back a lot of your cores to your newly found vassals. So now I want to show you something. As you can see, we can form the Mughals, as I said, for a few years now. I have been delaying this also because it does say once you form the Mughals, you lose all claims in the Persian, Khorasan, Caucasus, and Central Asia. That essentially means all of this, you lose claims there. The only ones you do keep are whatever you have in India and the Arabian Peninsula. This is also why I personally prefer, as the Timurids, to have a strong Timurid base in Persia and Central Asia, as well as Arabia, before I do decide to switch to the Mughals. Because once you do switch to the Mughals, your main focus will be conquering all of India before moving on to other parts of the world. Once you do form the Mughals, adopt the traditions and ambitions, and you are gonna get the new government reform, the Mughal Diwan, which gives you the special Mughal assimilation mechanics. Basically, once you have 100% of the provinces of a certain culture, so for example 100% of Afghanis are within our borders, same for Khorasani, Baluchi, Persian, and so on. Actually, there's one Persian province here that is not ours. This is going to give you certain bonuses. So for example, for the Iranian group, we get advisor cost -10, 10 for the Hindustani, minus 10 core creation cost, and so on for whichever culture group you integrate fully. You also get a new mission tree, which is quite great and helps you out with expanding into India quite a bit, and new national ideas that include core creation cost minus 25% from your traditions. So if you do decide to form Mughals early, it's going to cost you less coring up these lands, but you do lose the claims, and it is going to be a little bit tougher doing so since you have to manually get the claims and expand into this area. It's basically a give and take situation. Because of the Mughal Diwan, you get also 150 governing capacity extra, which is perfect for a world conquest. Speaking of world conquests, if you haven't seen my Oirats video, highly suggest you see it. Mughals is also a super great choice for a world conquest. The main reason is the location, which is extremely central, and you have expansion paths easily in all directions, as well as the Mughal Diwan government reform that includes the assimilate culture mechanics that also speed up the world conquest. If you do decide to go for a world conquest, your ideas will be shaped by that. Of course, most likely you will have military points as your first available mana points, so you should go for quantity. But if you do manage to get diplo points or admin points from being super lucky with your monarch being, say, 6 admin or 6 diplo or something of the sorts, then you should either go diplomatic ideas if you have a lot of extra diplo points, or admin ideas if you have a lot of admin points, since you get minus 25 core creation from admin ideas with another minus 25, and by assimilating all the Hindustani people, which is quite easy since it's really just a few parts of North India that you will be conquering fast in the early game, you get minus 60% core creation cost, and that is insane in the early game. By the time you reach Absolutism, you basically can core everything up for 1 or 2 admin. That's how crazy this is. Later on, you can also go for religious ideas if you're going for one faith, and it's going to give you the Deus Vult CB. If you're not, humanist is going to help you a lot more since it basically gets rid of separatists. Influence ideas is great as well since you get diplo annexation cost minus 25, thus making it easier to integrate your vassals. Trade ideas for the economic boost. Keeping all the trade in India and having trade ideas means you're never going to have a bad economy. And if you really need an extra military idea, then I recommend you go for quality ideas, which mixes greatly in with trade and the other idea sets. So for later expansion, Mughals should of course finish off Arabia, India mainly, expand into Central Asia and Europe once you get an opportunity. Although start your second front wars, one front finish off Karakoyunlu and the Caucasus parts, and the other front finish off. You actually can have 4 fronts since your economy, as you can see, definitely can sustain that. There's quite a few achievements you can get as well, and the Mughals playthrough really feels like a super entertaining and great playthrough. I mean, I managed to get 1,000 development almost from the first 30 years of the game, and I haven't even started munching into proper India, so that's quite insane. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, as well as leave the bell button on to get notified whenever I release a new guide such as this one. And if you guys want to see a Malwa guide, leave a like. If we get 2,000 likes on this video, I'm gonna do a Malwa guide, as this nation is quite special and has a buttload of flavor. I also want to give a very special thank you to all of my patrons and channel members, as well as my Twitch subscribers. Thank you so much, guys, for all the support. I wouldn't be able to make these videos without you.